So I hope you're all doing well. I look a little dark, huh? I'm going going cash tonight. So tonight we're going to talk about astrology. So I need take some of this lipstick off. I need hey RJ. So I need you guys to bring me your questions and comments about astrology. First, I got to find the show on my phone. You guys know the drill. Since we are not in the studio, I have to do all this technical stuff myself. And I miss Sally because Sally usually does all this for me. It's so nice to have a Sally. So I'm going to find us online and share the broadcast so all you can see it. Let me go over here. You can see comments. My allergies are so bad these days. Gotta go on Gov's radio. Here we are, and there I am. It's like a dream come true. I'm here in front of you on my camera. I'm on my computer screen, and I'm behind myself too. Magic of television, right? So I hope everybody's doing really well. It's a little distracting because for some reason we have my voice scrolling across the screen. So I'm going to share this. I think John Minette is on board. I think I see some people out there already. I just have to wait until I can actually share it. Where am I here? Here I am. Go on this broadcast here. Got to turn the sound down. I'm sorry it takes so long for us to do all this technical stuff. Soon I'll be back in the studio and then we'll be able to just do what we got to do. So I am going to share this to... Okay, that's on Georgia Rose timeline. Got a couple more to do. Hi John, hi Janine, hi Marianne. How are you guys doing tonight? I just have to keep sharing this for a second, so you'll have to pardon me while I do my housekeeping. Maybe somebody could tell me a joke. Going down. Okay. Copy the link. Go on Zencuda. Everybody is like the Zencuda site on Facebook, right? Hope so. Paste on that layer. There I am. I'm all over. This is like a Hollywood movie star here. I get to be on like 27 different mediums at once. I don't know if that's a good thing. All right, so let me go back to Gov so I can see all your comments and your wonderful questions for tonight. And we're going to get started. So want to do some stuff on astrology because I've been doing a lot of astrology and I thought, well, you know what? I may as well do it for you guys. So let me go to comments. I'm not seeing comments here. Up, yeah, there I can. There's my comments. All right. Hey, Carrie Ann. So I'm going to talk about astrology and how to use astrology for healing modality, basically. You know, a lot of times we do have Reiki and we go to a psychotherapist or a hypnotherapist, and all those things are great. But it's truly when we study ourselves that we progress, we evolve, and we grow. So astrology for me has been one of the most impactful and powerful tools that I've ever used for my own personal evolution and growth. The type of astrology that I do is known as evolutionary astrology. If you want to book a reading with me, you can do so at zencuda.com. Shameless plug. And shameless plug one. Let's count how many tonight. And evolutionary astrology, the type that I do, is actually a type of astrology that takes Pluto and uses the symbolism as Pluto as the soul and the evolution of the soul, and how in your chart Pluto is really impacted by other planets. So tonight I'm actually going to look at the chart of the moment, what's going on out there in Cosmo Land, and talk a little bit about that. But then I'm also going to give you guys all some tips on how you can use astrology in your daily life, in your higher philosophical life, to learn things about yourself. So before I get into that, there's something I want to talk about tonight. A few months ago, I had rolled out, I'm going to sneeze, because I always do 2 sneezes under my lights. It's the lights and they make me sneeze. Oh, I'm human. So, no robot here. So a few months ago, I rolled out the first product that was, and this was a deck that I actually created, spent most of 2019 creating. Very meaningful deck. There's under 10 people out there in the world right now that have these decks that I actually hand delivered to them as part of a test group. And the feedback on these cards has been absolutely phenomenal. I want to tell you a little bit about my creation of these cards, because I'm hoping that you'll all purchase them and order them and use them in your own life. So I know Amy's on, and Amy's one of the people that got a pre-sale. So when I first started out to do these cards, it was the beginning of 2019. And it was a time when I felt a lot of light in the world, and many light workers online and in social media were talking about light and how light seemed to be different all of a sudden, and how we were seeing the light differently even when we went outside, and the way the sun was, etc. And so I dubbed 2019 the year of light, and we started this campaign online, Let There Be Light, hashtag Let There Be Light. And everyone started putting up pictures of light, and pictures of light they saw at the beach or at the forest or wherever it was. It was an amazing, amazing thing that just was a grassroots operation that started. So then I started meditating a lot on light back then, and I started to really think about, what does light mean? What is light in our life? And it came to me in one of my meditations that there is never only darkness, there is always light. And I know right now a lot of us are doing shadow work, and we are really going deeply into the parts of ourselves that maybe we really didn't want to look at prior to now, and the distractions have silenced, and we're sitting home, and we're starting to really do some deep work, and that's what we call looking at our shadow. So all the more appropriate that Circle of Light Oracle cards comes into your life now. The production of them was on hold during COVID-19 because the company that I used to produce them was no longer in service for a while. They're going to go back towards the end of the month and start filling orders. But I want to put these cards out as a pre-sale because I think never have we been at a time when we needed more light. And I'm going to tell you, when I started to create these cards, much of them were channeled. The energy that I put forth in these cards was amazing as I was writing them, creating them, finding the photographs for them, taking the photographs. Then many of them are photographs that I actually went out and took. And every step of the way, I poured this beautiful light and love in these cards with the idea of them lighting you and lighting other people's lives and bringing a circle of light somehow of inspiration, of all kinds of positive attraction, of actuation of light in people's lives. And the way the cards work is you open the box, you're going to get the box, and there's 22 cards because 22 is a master number. It's a very, very significant number in my life. So I made 22 cards. And they're beautiful cards, the feel of them, they're very glossy, they just feel good, everything about them is really pretty. And they're all photographs, and each 22 numbered cards has a different type of light that I'm talking about in the cards. And the way they come is 22 cards, and you can put a few on the counter, right? And you can actually do a circle if you'd like. And I have a limited space here, but you get the drift. If you do it on your kitchen table or a round table, you'll fit all 22 cards. And then the cards come with a crystal. And it could be any crystal. They're picked randomly. Tonight I actually have an amethyst crystal. And we put that in the center of our circle of cards. And we just give it a spin. And whatever card it points to is the card that you're meant to have. So the circle of light is truly a circle of light that we are now meditating on. You can see the back cards. The artwork was done by a really beautiful lady that I was working with at the time. And then the photographs are just beautiful. The card I picked tonight was Karma. And the really funny thing about that is that earlier tonight, when I went to pick a card, I picked the same card. And the way it plays out is, number 13 is Karma, and it says, actions are ripples of light spread across the world. And for me, karma means that we get our rewards, and we also sometimes pay our debts. But I'm going to take this as a beautiful card of reward since we are talking about light tonight. So I hope you'll all go on Zenkuda.com and order your pre-order of Circle of Light cards. They're $35, and they come with a crystal a little bit smaller than this one. It will take a while for them to come to you. I will tell you that, because the company that's manufacturing them for me is on hold until COVID-19. They are scheduled to go back and start filling orders the end of this month, so maybe figure a month after that. So if you have any issue, this is going to be up on my site tomorrow. If you have any issue pre-ordering, just let me know. So now let's talk about astrology, okay? So astrology is a beautiful modality. I strongly suggest that everyone look at their charts and, at least if nothing else, find your sun, moon, and rising. Because a lot of times when we go to look at astrology online or in the paper or wherever you look, you're going to have a tendency to look up your sun sign, and that's probably not going to give you the actual astrology for you. If you're looking at something that's a boilerplate generic astrology, which I don't endorse, because if you really want accurate astrology to use as a map for your life, you need to have a reading done, and you need to know where certain things are in your charts. Like today I read a lot of things online about the retrogrades, and most of it's just boilerplate. People are going to tell you, oh, the retrograde means this, the retrogrades mean that. And that's true. Retrogrades are reversals. Retrogrades are a time for pause. But unless you know exactly where it's impacting your own astrology chart, that might give you a false reading on something, just enough to, send you into a tailspin about something happening, and now you've attracted that into your life. So I really strongly suggest, if you want to learn astrology, if you want to learn more about your own chart, work with an experienced astrologer. I am an experienced astrologer, but there's plenty of us out there. So people have a tendency, when they go to look up their sign or look up the astrology of the day or the month or whatever, they'll look up their sun sign. And you don't want to do that. You want to look up your rising sign. And the reason why that is because your rising sign is the sign in your chart that sets the houses. And I'm going to just get something out of my printer, because I printed out the chart at the moment, and I'm going to get that so you all can see what the houses look like in the zodiac. I'll be 2 seconds. So this is what an astrology chart looks like when you print out a chart. And you can print out a free chart on astro.com or cafeastrology.com. And your chart's going to look like this. This is actually a chart of the moment. So your chart will look like this, and you see all these peripheral circles. You have a big circle. It looks like a piece of pie, like mom has company on Thanksgiving and she's got to stretch the pie. So she's going to cut it into 12 shapes. You see these pie shapes, right? Those are called houses. This is a house, this is a house, this is a house, this is a house. And we start the houses with our rising sign. Here, the chart of the moment right now, the sun is rising in Scorpio. So that would mean Scorpio would be your first house. So if you had a rising sign of Scorpio, and that was your first house, then Sagittarius is going to be a second house, and it goes throughout the whole zodiac. So if you're looking at a generic boilerplate astrology chart or astrology reading, like you go in the magazines, and for the month of May, they'll say this is Aries, this is Pisces, it's probably not going to be that accurate unless you go for your rising sign. Like, I'm a Sagittarius rising, so whenever I look up my astrology, I look up how it's going to affect Sagittarius, because that shows me where my houses are and what houses it affects. And the reason why that's important is because all these pie shapes on the zodiac wheel, the 12 houses, they all actually represent an area of your life. The first house is the house of self. The second house is the house of the things we value, possessions, how we make our money. The third house is communication. The fourth house is your home and family. The third house is also siblings. The fourth house is your home and family. The fifth house is creativity, children, and sex for fun. The sixth house is your everyday routine and your health. Your seventh house is relationships. Your eighth house is sex, death, and transformation, like passionate sex, sex with love, as opposed to the fifth house, which is playful sex. The ninth house is higher learning and travel. The 10th house is your career and also represents the father. The 11th house is friends, dreams, hopes, and wishes. And the 12th house is your soul work, your house of hidden enemies, your house of confinement and restrictions. So every time a planet touches one of those points in your chart, it's going to tell you what's happening in your life. So you can see that this might sound like a bunch of mumbo jumbo to some people, but mostly it means that the planets are impacting us, and that is my belief. Astrology for me is a spiritual modality for healing. It's a spiritual modality for evolution. So astrology for me isn't just, oh, the moon's in Scorpio, we're going to have a really intense night. For me, it's the moon is in Scorpio, where is Scorpio in my chart, what house, what's impacting it, what's aspecting it, what's conjunct, semi-square, what is squaring it, what is opposing it, what are all these energies, if I put them in a blender and shake them up, going to mean for me. That's how in-depth astrology works. And so I am going to be teaching a beginner astrology course. It's called Follow Your Sun. We're going to be offering that in June. It'll be up on the site tomorrow. And it will be an online Zoom course. So if you're interested in learning more about that, go on zenkuda.com tomorrow and you will be able to click on Follow Your Sun. I believe we're going to start that the first Monday in June. And it will be a 2 or 3 time course. So let's get into some astrology. I know I have some comments out here. So Joanna Maya, you're a Taurus, okay? The energy is very strong. And Anne-Marie, there's a couple of reasons for that. Some of it is astrological, where, you know, the energy is strong because the planets are definitely working overtime right now to support us on our journey of evolution. We have 4 planets in retrograde, 3 that just went in retrograde this week. And we also have some planets that are going to be staying in those positions for an extremely long time that is not customary. But retrogrades are customary. Retrogrades are normal. It's the normal ebb and flow of the planets. So, you know, people will tell you, oh, it's a retrograde. Well, retrogrades happen several times a year for some planets and once a year or so for other planets. They're supposed to retrograde because of the elliptical of the Earth. So when we see a retrograde come in, it does intensify energy because whatever the energy is of that planet, whatever the archetype or the significator of that planet is, becomes more intense because the planet slows down. And so like anything else, I mean, even if you're in traffic, right, and somebody has a really smoky car or like a car that burns oil, if they slow down, that's going to get more intense when you pass them because it's going to be there longer. So it's the same way with the planets. When they slow down, their energy is intense because they're in those positions longer. Retrogrades mean that the planet will pass over the same position 3 times because first the planet, like if I use this, right, this is the Earth and this is a planet. Suppose, you know, there's a little point on this crystal, right? And suppose the planet is right in front of that point and then it slows down, but you see the Earth still spins. So now that point's going to come across that planet, right? And the planet is still slowly slowing down. And now the planet is going to station. And as it's stationing, which means it's going extremely slow, maybe the Earth's resolution, which isn't as long as this planet, comes around again, and now it passes that point again. And then the planet stops its retrograde and does what we call going direct. So then it'll start going forward and it'll pass over that point again. So whatever place the retrogrades are happening, like for instance, I think Saturn right now is happening from 2 degrees of Aries to 25 degrees, it goes back to 25 degrees Capricorn. So if you have a planet that's, say, at 25 degrees of Capricorn or 29 degrees of Capricorn, then Saturn, who's going retrograde, is going to pass over that 3 times in a short period of time. So whatever it activates, it's going to activate 3 times. That's why that old saying, everything comes in threes, that's where it originated from. And a lot of the sayings, the anecdotal things that we say actually have their history in astrology. So the energy is intense because of the cosmology with the planets. But then the energy is also intense because of the collective right now. And when Saturn went into Aquarius, which it just did, it's going to retrograde back into Capricorn. Aquarian energy is the energy of the collective. Aquarian energy is a symbolization of we as individuals go out into the collective, out into the world and do something. So when you have a major planet like Saturn in Aquarius, it's going to bring in energy from the collective. And what's our energy right now out there in the world, in the collective? You can't even go in the supermarket or drive down the road without feeling fear, trepidation, anxiety, grief, right? So the energy is very intense with those things because it's in the collective. We're all bouncing it off of each other. It's our contagion that's worse than the disease. But there's also a high octave because a lot of modern day mystics like myself, like people from, very high up lamas and Sadhguru, all kinds of people who are out there, famous mystics, modern day mystics, Carolyn Myss and anybody that you can think of, right? Poets and philosophers that are modern day. They're all reaching higher heights right now because much of the energy in the collective is also optimistic. It's people going home and closing the door and doing really deep work interior-wise on themselves, finding home within ourselves now that we have to be home in the physical sense. So all of that energy is out in the collective. My meditations have been so intense. I think I told you guys last week, I actually was in a meditation where I was at the Last Supper with Jesus and the apostles and felt all the beautiful love and unity and oneness of that like I've never felt before. So that energy is intense. So we have tremendous duality out there because the planetary energy is super intense right now, and the energy of the collective, the way we are all vibing, is super intense. And I will say, I think most of us are starting to lean towards the beautiful vibe of love and joy and oneness and unity and compassion and empathy in our lives. There's still a small part of the population that's going into the anger and the tension and the stress of this. But that's because they're just in distraction and denial. They don't want to sit with themselves. I'm actually writing a very intense blog about that. For some, this energy has brought us to our knees. And I was actually having a conversation. I was writing and the phone rang, and one of my very, very good friend of mine who is just an amazing seer and prophet and joy to the world called me today. We hadn't spoken in a long time. And he said to me, what do you think about, the duality out there and all this energy, if everyone could just go into the love? And I said, it's so funny. I was just writing about how being brought to our knees is actually our salvation, not our suffering, because in that little glimmer of hope, what we find something to really grab onto. So that's a lot of the Aquarius energy, is energy of very future oriented, and it's causing stress and tension right now because this is not future energy in the world. We are in a pause. We are in a retrograde reversal collectively as a universe right now, where we are meant to sit in quiet and plan our next move, but not do it yet. So that Aquarian energy was not really comfortable, and that's why it's going to go back to Capricorn. It's retrograde Saturn. It's not ready for Aquarius yet. It won't be until December when it goes there full time. But if you take apart that Aquarius energy, it is energy that wants us to think about the future scientifically, innovatively, collectively, optimistically, how we fit into all of that collectively. But it doesn't want us to activate it yet. Taurus, Joanne, is right now a little bit of a heavy energy, but good heavy, because we have Uranus in Taurus right now, and Uranus is going to be in Taurus for the next 5 years. Uranus is the awakener, a sudden unexpected change. It's in the first degrees of Taurus. It's like at 7 degrees in Taurus right now. I'm looking at the chart. So if your sun is in the early degrees of Taurus, you're feeling this. If it's in the later degrees of Taurus, you're just starting to ignite it. You're really not going to feel it for a couple of years probably. It depends on what house it's in. But for anyone out there who's a Taurus, sun, moon, or rising, having Uranus impact you in a personal way over the next 5 years will probably come about as sudden, quick, and unexpected change. And that doesn't have to be in the negative. It could be a sudden, unexpected change that's really good, you know. Uranus comes in to awaken us to things, and in the energy of Taurus, it's a little bit challenged because Taurus is a very fixed energy. Remember the sign of the bull. So Taurus is fixed, but Uranus wants to move things, right? So they're kind of butting heads. So this could feel very uncomfortable for Tauruses now, but the best way to work with the energy for Taurus is try and flow. And instead of automatically being resistive, which is very much a Taurus kind of trait, you know, that bull wants to plant his feet really firmly and not move. Don't do that. Flow in the energy and think, okay, where does this really want to bring me? And use that focus that you would normally focus in place with to focus on something that you really want to hit a bullseye on. And use that tenacity of the bull to get your target. Because Uranus wants you to move forward in some way. So don't resist it. So that's for all my Tauruses out there. So, hey Jen, how are you? January 16th. So you are are you a Cappy or an Aquarius? You are a Cappy, I think. Yeah. So, oh, and we got a Leo too. Love Leos. So I'd have to look at your chart, Jen, but for you, I think this is more than likely a year of change because the energy that is the sign before you and the sign after you is changing a lot. So you're kind of sandwiched between these things. I think the way this is probably going to come into play for you is some deep inner perspective work. You may, a year and a half from now, you may have a completely different perspective on the things going on in your life than you do now. It's almost like you think you know what's going on now, you're not really sure, but it's going to be revealed more as these transits come in for you. So just know that. Melissa, Leo. Leos are having a pretty good time of it right now, but Leos also are questioning a little bit about what things they thought were true. And isn't that really so for a lot of the collective? But in a Leo right now, you're going to find that you're a fire sign. The nodes of the moon just went into a fire sign, the south node. So you may find yourself pulled into your past a little bit, Leo, especially during this Venus retrograde, which is going to last quite a while. My best advice to you, Leo, is when we get towards the end of June, when Mars starts to go into Aries, which is another fire sign, and Mars we get all charged up. Be really careful that you don't spend the next 5 months after June getting riled up and, you know, letting the Leo, might is right, king of the jungle energy come through. This is a time when you're supposed to be a little bit more quiet, a little bit more perspective, okay? Yeah, Jen, Capricorn right now, you're going through a lot of changes. You have been for about 2 years. This December, that's going to really lighten up for you. This December, for anyone who's Capricorn, Sun, Moon, or Rising, the energy is going to feel like refreshed because the planets that were in your sign and causing you a heaviness, causing changes, causing introspection, are moving to an air sign, and you're going to feel a lot of refreshment after that. So anybody who is that beautiful Cap energy, you're going to have a lot of fun energy after. Carrie Ann, I'm a Libra. I think I'm a Scorpio rising. Okay, so Scorpio risings right now, you've got, yeah, the Taurus, if you are a Scorpio rising, Uranus is affecting your house of relationships. It's opposite your rising. So what's probably going to happen for you in the next couple of years is you may have changes with relationships, and that doesn't have to be just romantic. It could be business partnerships, all kinds of partnerships. You might find people coming in and out of your life that are kind of quirky and not the norm. You may find yourself being attracted to someone who is not your normal kind of guy or girl or whatever your preference is. And the same with business. You may find yourself being attracted to people who would not normally be someone that you would think you would go into a partnership with. My best advice to you about that, Carrie, is go slow, because especially with Venus going retrograde, it sometimes puts on the rose-colored glasses for us, where we think we know it all and we don't know it all. So go slow these next few months, but for the next couple of years, Carrie Ann, you're probably going to have relationships coming in and out of your life, and you know, enjoy them because they're very non-conforming. That's all I'm going to say. All right. Pisces from Maryland. Hey, Andrea Williams, how are you? Okay, so did I skip somebody? Marianne's February. Okay, so you would be a Pisces as well, Marianne, right? Pisces. No, you're going to be. Give me your signs, because when I have to think of the calendar dates, it's hard for me when I'm on. I can do it like when I have paper in front of me, but I get confused on the camera because I'm reading and I'm looking and I'm like, what is okay? So Pisces from Maryland. Okay, Pisces is actually a little confused right now, and I know I'm giving a general consensus, but that's because Mars has gone into Pisces, and Mars in Pisces is kind of like, I'll use an analogy one of my great teachers uses. Mars in Pisces is like, you want to go to the party, you're all dressed up to go to the party, but you can't find the invitation with the address for the party. So you're going to be with that energy. It's going to pass pretty quickly, but that's the energy of May for you and a little bit into June. So what I would suggest, Pisces, is don't make any big decisions right now. Put them off if you can. And try and use this time to be more introspective within yourself and home within you instead of trying to figure things out in the external world, because Mars is in your sign and it makes you... Mars doesn't like Pisces. Mars likes fire signs. Mars likes to be gung-ho, go forward. When Mars gets wobbly, and this affects all of us, when Mars gets wobbly in Pisces, which it is, it's almost like we can't find the truth. It's like we're at the shore looking for shells and the tide keeps coming in and taking them away. So very murky energy. Murky is a good word. John, this is going to affect you also, that Pisces, Mars in Pisces. That's a really interesting... I didn't even realize you were a Capricorn with a Pisces rising. First of all, the Pisces rising for all of us right now is going to make us want to go within and want to connect with spirit. So anyone who's a Pisces, you're going to feel murky and unsettled and like you don't really know what's true in the external world. But in the internal, in your meditation, in your place that you go for connection, like the beach or forest or wherever, you're going to have so much connection. Because that Piscean energy of wanting to connect with Mars there is going to bring you into the ethereal. It's going to bring you into angelic energy and ascended masters and things like that. So spend your time really, really meditating. Anyone who's got a Pisces, Sun, Moon, or Rising. And for all of us, they're going to be really deep. The psychic energy is going to be really deep. And the class that I'm doing called Follow Your Sun that I'm going to start... I think it's the first Monday in June. That class actually is an online class, so anybody can take it, even if you're in Maryland. Oh, you're welcome, Jen. I love you. I think we talked a lot about Aquarius, Marianne. Aquarius right now is actually in a good place. Saturn is going into your sign in December. When Saturn goes into a sign, it likes to change things for us. Saturn is our structure and our lessons. That's why a lot of what's happening right now with COVID is actually a reaction of Saturn being in Capricorn with Pluto and Jupiter. What it's doing is breaking down structure. So whenever Saturn comes into your sign, you're going to find major life change. You're going to find, it doesn't mean it's bad. It means that, I'll give you an example. I have a consecutive zodiac, Libra, Scorpio, Sag. So when a planet starts to transit one area of my life, it goes into all three major areas. And Saturn is a planet that usually spends about 2.5 years in a sign. So I had to deal with Saturn for basically 9 years. And it was challenging because I had a lot of structures in my life that didn't really work for me. So Saturn came in and took those structures down. But it was the best decade of my life because it was a decade of change, growth. All the things that really didn't serve me fell away, and it was awesome because I have all this great stuff that came in. And that's what Saturn does. Saturn also brings us rewards. When Saturn transits, you know, our sun sign, like it will be for your Aquarius, Saturn is going to sometimes bring rewards if you've been doing a lot of work in your life. Where Saturn transits, you'll reap that, the benefit of that, whether it's something you did tangibly in a business, or spiritual work, or you know, you've been building a home, you'll finally complete it during a Saturn transit. Something like that often happens as well. The other thing I want to say to you, John, is that Capricorn that drives you, and you definitely have that Capricorn driver. Towards the end of the year, a lot of refreshment will come in, and it'll really be like new beginnings for you. So depending, I know I have your chart, I can pull it after the broadcast. Depending on what house this is in, it's going to be a lot of fresh starts for you, that in a good way. So just know that, because I think you've done a lot of your work. So this tree I got for like, I think $5 on clearance at Kmart when it was going out of business. I have no shame. And then it was so funny because one of my girlfriends, Margaret, was moving and she had a tree like this and she threw it away. And I'm like, you threw out that tree? I was so upset. I wanted the other one. So funny stuff, right? Hi, Virginia. Hi, Noreen. Sagittarius. I love Sagittarius. I happen to be a Sag rising. Hi, Gina. Denise, how are you? I'm going to do Sag now, Denise. So here's the thing. Sagittarius right now is going to undergo a little bit of a life change. And it may be, something for the better. It may be something that will be a little challenging in the beginning and then it'll be okay. But the nodes of the moon, which are very significant the way that I do astrology on the evolutionary point of view, just changed and went into Sagittarius. The south node is in Sagittarius. It's actually at 1 degree right now. And the, 29 degrees. The nodes move counterclockwise. And the north node is in Gemini. So anyone with Sagittarius energy, like I'm Sag rising, which means it's in my first house, wherever those nodes are transiting, and they'll stay there for 18 months, almost 2 years. And they do this every 18 years. So think about, was there anything significant happening 18 years ago? Because that's what last time the nodes were in this position. They have a cycle like that. So when the node transits a certain house, it means we are going to undergo change in that house. Now, depending on what house it is, those changes can be significant. Like if it's in your 4th house of home, you're probably going to move, believe it or not, or remodel or do something to change your home. It could also mean you find home within. If it's in your house of career, you're going to come into your own probably. Now, Sagittarius right now, the south node of the moon is transiting. The south node of the moon is the things that we come into this lifetime bearing. The soul reincarnates constantly. Energy doesn't ever die. Energy just transitions. It keeps moving from life to life to life. A soul can't die. So it only transitions. So your soul is the place in you that knows everything through every lifetime, where you have ever been, who you have ever spoken to, every incident, every feeling, everything is within you. That is why when we meditate sometimes we see things or we experience things, because it's all in our higher self, in our soul. So the south node of the moon is the energy of what our soul brings into this lifetime. The comfortable things, the experiences that we've had up until now, and what we're comfortable doing. The things that we probably should not do, but just do, our personality traits and bad habits. The north node is where we are supposed to aspire to. So when I look at someone's chart, like right now, the chart of the moment, the north node is at 29, in Gemini. The north node is Gemini, south node is Sag. So when I look at the chart and I can see, okay, north node, I don't have glasses on, north node, 8th house, Gemini. So I think about the ruler of Gemini, which is Mercury. Where's Mercury in the chart? I think about where's the north node, what degree is it aspected by anything else, because that tells me what their soul contract is in this life. I read that psychically, and I read that through the chart. I have almost like a savant type gift when I look at patterns. So when I look and see where someone's north node is, I can tell you right away why they're here, what their purpose is. Whether or not their free will and their belief merges with that to actually actuate in their life is a different story. For Sagittarius right now, the south node is in your sign, in your wherever Sag is in your whatever house, wherever Sag is in your chart. If you're a Sag sun or a Sag rising, it's really affecting you as far as yourself and your personality. If you're a Sagittarius moon, it's going to affect your emotions. The south node is probably for most Sagittarians going to make you feel like you're being dragged into the past a little bit. you might feel like you're repeating a pattern, or a pattern that has been a little bit detrimental for you or diminishes you is going to rise to the surface. That is awesome, because it wants you to heal it. It wants you to stop doing it. It wants you to change it. And how wonderful it is that the universe gives us these rising tides so that we have to confront the issue. And so when the nodes of the moon start aspecting our signs, which right now Sagittarius and Gemini, we come into our own. There are times when we, clear the porch in a very big way. Or if we've been doing that and doing that work, this is when it culminates, when those nodes click into our sun, moon, or rising. So if you're a Sagittarius or a Gemini, sun, moon, or rising, you've got that transit right now, and it will be there for about 18 months. And it happened 18 years ago. So hopefully you did your work 18 years ago. RJ. Libra we didn't do yet. Libra, I'll do Libra because I know Amy's Virgo and Libra rising. Libra's right now a lot of focus for you on finding your balance, your harmony within. Stop looking for it from the other. We've been doing that, Librans, for a long time. Now's the time for you to really stop looking for the balance and the harmony you want in your life in the other or in things. Libras right now also, especially if you're a Libra sun or moon, you're doing some really deep work. The other thing that's happening with Libras right now, the asteroid Juno is transiting Libra. And Juno is the planet of marriage, long-term partnerships. So for a lot of Libran energy, it's almost like you want the security of that partnership. And Libras like to pair anyway. So you're probably having issues come in with partnership and with any long-term partnership. Again, it doesn't necessarily have to be romantic. It could be marriage. Juno is the marriage asteroid. Usually when couples come to me and ask me to do synastry work, which is when I lay two charts on top of each other to see exactly what the relationship is about. If I see aspects to Juno, I can tell whether it's a long-term relationship or not. Of course, free will always pops in. So for those of you who have any strong Libra in your chart, you're probably evaluating long-term relationships, or you may be entering into a long-term relationship. Blah. All right. So any other questions? So I'm going to talk a little bit more about astrology in general right now. Really be careful when you're new to astrology trying to interpret and decipher your own chart, because it can be dangerous. It's just like I remember a long time ago when I first started to read cards and read tarot, I would read for myself, and I always thought I was something terrible was going to happen, because you have enough knowledge to almost hurt yourself, right? So when you start to read your chart, it's good to do research, it's good to watch videos, it's good to learn, but make sure that you aren't over, complicating it. This is a chart for the moment for me, and it's going to look like spaghetti even to somebody who have a basic knowledge of astrology, because I put in a lot of asteroids. I've been studying astrology for 11 years. So I really, know kind of what I'm doing. And I say kind of because the teachers that I learned for have been studying astrology, some of them 40 and 50 years. It's not a science, it's not a modality that you're going to learn in a decade. There's so much to it. So my best advice is, if you're going to use chart work and use charts to help yourself grow and use it as a healing tool, get a basic knowledge, sit down with an astrologer one-on-one if you can, because it is hard to learn in classes unless it's somebody who's teaching a class for basic astrology. I'm going to be doing a class towards the end of the month, beginning of June, called Follow Your Sun. And it's all about the sun sign in the chart and what to expect from it. That's a good class because it's focused on the main thing you would need to know first. And so classes like that are good. But the very first thing I would do if you're interested in using astrology as part of your life is to have a reading with an astrologer. And then I would say take some astrology classes or books, learn that way. But only use the major planets. Don't start putting all kinds of other things on the chart, because it really, really overcomplicates it and you'll throw it all away. And one of the things that I love about astrology is I really believe everyone should know their own chart and the basics in their chart, at least their houses and where their sun, moon, and rising is, where Pluto is in the chart, Saturn, Jupiter, Venus, Mercury, because each one of those planets has a spiritual lesson to teach you in your chart. And it's going to be a different lesson for everybody else. Like, you know, somebody might say, oh, well, you're Venus in Virgo, so this is the way you like, your language of love is this. But that person may have Venus in Virgo opposite Pluto conjunct Mars. It's going to mean something totally different than somebody else who has Venus in Virgo. So you see what I mean? If you try to interpret your own chart, it can be really hard. I've been studying astrology for 11 years, and I don't interpret my own chart. I'll look at the basics, but I have astrology appointments with long-term teachers of mine that I go to every 6 months for my progressions, etc. Because to me, astrology is a healing modality, and it's so serious to me, it's the roadmap of my life. So I need to be able to interpret what Pluto is doing in my chart and what my next lesson is and what I'm supposed to do. So get your basics down and use it to really know your own map, your own lay of the land. And then I would say find a beautiful gifted astrologer. And just like you go to the doctor every few months or you get a dental checkup every year, you should be sitting down with that person on a regular basis. That is astrology. That is how you do it. Astrology is a healing tool. It's just like you go and get Reiki and you go and have a card read. You should be sitting down with an astrologer. I wish they would teach this in school, because I really truly believe that if children could understand their basic personality, the energy they brought into this world, their life purpose, and how that is going to be actuated and challenged in their life, it would really shorten the learning curve on a whole lot of crap. So that's my opinion about astrology. You can do it any way you want, but I think oftentimes, and I've also had people come to me where they've had prior readings with someone and they say, oh, I have this in my chart and I know I'll never be able to do X or Y. And I look at it and I say, well, no, that's not true, because what you have to do is go towards this energy, you know? So there's always a positive. It's not bad and good. It's just the way your wheel is, you know? You were born at exactly a certain moment in time, at exactly a certain place, for a reason. And, you know, people will say to me, oh, well, what about if you were a C-section? Does that mean you weren't born at the right time or whatever, because it was a planned birth? No, it's all the divine plan. Even twins who are born, you know, 6, 7, 8 minutes, 10 minutes apart have a different chart. No one has the same chart, I'm telling you. So there's a reason why we were incarnated, ignited. Our life was ignited. You took your first breath under that sky. There was a reason for that. And the reasons are all in the map. So how beautiful is it that God gave you your plan, wrote it all out for us. All we have to do is study it and understand it, and we'll know everything there is there. And if you don't want to take the time to do that properly, definitely see an astrologer. So I'll take a few more questions, and then we're going to be probably booted off our thing tonight. And please share this video if you think it'll help somebody. I have over 70 or 80 videos on YouTube right now. So some of them are astrology, some of them are tarot, some of them are just philosophy. I'm also adding a section right now with some business tips. That's what Zenkuda is all about. So, hey, if you want to book a reading with me, zenkuda.com. And RJ, I answered that question several times, so I'll message you after. Anybody else? Did I miss anyone? Hey, Lisa, how are you doing? So I have like 10 minutes left, so I'm going to talk about these beautiful oracle cards that are now being produced. Of course, the factory is on pause because of COVID. So I told you in the beginning of the video all about these beautiful cards and how they came about. I actually created them in 2019, and now they are ready to be sold. You can go on my site tomorrow and pre-order. And these beautiful Circle of Light cards are meant to be put in a circle, or you can just use them as regular oracle cards as well. They will bring light into your life. They have a tremendous amount of energy. I know Amy has a set, and a couple of other people that I actually gifted them to when we were in beta and testing them. And you can spread them out like this. They just look beautiful on the table. I actually use them with a beautiful sparkly tablecloth. And sometimes when I have parties, it's great because you don't have to keep shuffling if you don't want to. You can literally just put your crystal down. If you have a crystal wand that you've engaged and that you love, you can put it on the table, spin it, just like that old-fashioned game of spin the bottle. This is the card. And what a beautiful card we had, and never could there be a more appropriate card than tonight. It is Awakening. Number 11. These are all original photographs meant for the Zenkuda Circle of Light cards. And this card says Awakening. The light of the universe opens new pathways. And I hope that tonight astrology will open new pathways for you. I'm going to read to you from the booklet that I created and wrote what I wrote about awakening. And I think that card is just so appropriate because we are all undergoing so much awakening right now in our lives. And that's number 11 is Awakening. Sometimes we sense the light before we see it. Perhaps we feel its warmth or are drawn to a flicker in the corners of our mind. Whether it be subtle or bold, this awakening is powerful as you suddenly see a different perspective. Jarring aha moments sometimes come to correct our path or open us to new ideas. These awakenings are meant to help us see the divine light we are blindly missing. Awakening to the light of the world does not happen only once. We are awakened in subtle ways every day to small nuances of the light of the Creator. This is the way the universe reassures us that we are fully supported. What a beautiful card. And there you have this beautiful awakening. It just flew away. So hopefully the angels will catch it. So if there's any other questions or anything anybody has tonight, I know Amy loves the cards. The pictures are beautiful. Some of them I actually took myself. There's a few that I actually am and like this one was something that actually happened to me. The shadow card is actually me and my shadow. I'm actually working on another deck now that's an astrology deck, which is really unique. And I know you guys are going to absolutely adore. But for now, these will be available online tomorrow. As I said, it's going to take a while for you to get them because of the pause for the cause on right now, the factory that's making them. This is the shadow card. That's me and my shadow. The factory that is processing these for them. And this was also an original photograph. This was taken out at Robert Moses one day. And it's intermingled, some really beautiful things. And the artwork, this is also an original photograph at the beach. Just things that I felt were really, really meaningful in life. And the things that I'm working on now, the deck is just a stunning deck as well. So these will be available for pre-order tomorrow on my site, zenkuda.com. And then also tomorrow on the site, you'll see an online class I'm doing on basic astrology. It's called Follow Your Sun. It's a 3-part class online. You can take it from anywhere in the country. And yes, Carrie Ann, they're going to be up on the site tomorrow on zenkuda.com. Just be patient. You probably won't get them shipped to you for a while because of this COVID-19. The factory that's making them for me, the production is very, very slow because they have all back orders. They were on hiatus. They couldn't go into the factory for a couple months. They're due back in their factory the end of the month, so I feel confident to pre-sell. So we're going to be doing that. And if you have any questions, you guys know you can always message me or reach me on connect@zenkuda.com. I love you all. Our broadcast is almost over. I'm going to pick a card right now for World Energy. Okay, let's all see what's coming up next for us and what the universe has to say to us. And then our broadcast is going to end. So let's do this. Here we go. It's this card. Passion. Creative light sparks passion's fire. And this was a beautiful, beautiful sunset. I have to say passion right now, and I didn't mention this during the broadcast, but this is a really creative time. With Mars in Pisces, that energy that becomes murky also brings out tremendous creativity in everyone. The only problem is, be very careful what you create now because it may be elusive. It may be under an illusion. Like these cards were made in 2019, so I feel confident in putting them out there. But anything that's created now, that's initially created now, up until I would say the end of August, be very careful because you may think it's the best thing ever and have all this great optimism about it, only to find out it's not as great as you think because that Mars, Pisces, Neptunian energy is making us have the rose-colored glasses and making us sometimes think things are the bomb and they're barely the fuse. So just remember that because I know we put so much into our creativity and our work. So if you draw, you paint, put it aside, you know, do all your creativity and then put it aside before you launch anything, because it's really not the time to launch, especially with Gemini, Mercury and Gemini retrograde for a long time. All right, so that's tonight's broadcast. Thank you so much. If you'd like to book a private astrology consultation, I do astrology psychically as well. I am an intuitive astrologer. You can do that on zenkuda.com. You can find the oracle cards up at top tomorrow. And then, of course, I'm not allowing a lot of people in that Follow Your Sun astrology class. It is a limited amount because I want to be able to go over personal charts in that class. So if you're interested in that, that'll be up on the website tomorrow too. Thank you so much, everybody. I love you, and thank you so much for supporting my work. It means the world to me. I actually have been going through quite a lot myself. I have a very good friend of mine who's very, very sick right now, and he's really at a crossroads. So if you could please send energy to him, I would really appreciate it, and put him into your Reiki grids and your beautiful spiritual modalities. That's great, Amy. That is awesome. I love you. Yeah, the astrology deck I'm working on, that might probably come out the end of the year because I'm not rushing anything. And that's the other thing. Don't rush anything now. The energy may want you to be more intense than really is warranted, all right? Thank you so much, everybody. I will be back next Thursday night on guzradio.com, and I hope you'll join me. Good night, and please share the video if you want. Subscribe to zenkuda.com on YouTube, Zenkuda on YouTube, and watch all my videos. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye. Oh, I gotta shut you off over there. I get so confused with all these technical things. I want my Sally back.